One of the tools that we use in our actual day-to-day work is private treaty. How many of you do private treaty sales? Do any of you know what I mean by private treaty sales, or just none of you use them? Yeah, cool. So we use private treaty sales. How many of you do some form of a tender? Not tender. I know some of you do tender as well, but like tender. Chicken tenders, yeah. So like an end date sale, a set date sale, that kind of stuff. Yeah, expressions of interest, all offers in by 5 o'clock sometime in the future. Yep. And then how many of you do auctions where you have an auctioneer? Yep. Love it, cool. And I think the more that you know about tools within our industry, the better it is when you're sitting in the lounge room with somebody. We always talk about lounge room, but I prefer to sit at the kitchen table. But you know, you're sitting there. Does it matter to you as an agent what method of sale your clients use?
Yes.
Yeah.
More so than getting the listing? I work with an agent right now who is an auction agent. I'm confident he would rather lose the listing if it doesn't go auction. Because he's just a believer in that method of sale, which is fine. But I'm just saying, we have a toolbox in our real estate space. We all have tools in there. Today we're going to hear from the team at Reso, who will give you, if you're not familiar with them, they'll tell you who they are, etc. And they will give you a use case, but it's just another tool you might want to consider using in your business. Over to you guys.
Hi everyone, thank you for having us. Great to be here. I'm a little bit like Suzanne, I'm a tad passionate about the platform, so you know, if you need to get a lasso or get me off, feel free. Can I have hands up for anyone in the room who uses Reso already? Lovely, awesome. So what Reso is, Reso stands for Real Estate Sales Online, and we're a smart offer management platform to help you manage your buyers right from when you list the property and you're starting to get inquiries, right through to contract completion and everything in between. I know a lot of today's been geared at technology, which is awesome. I think it used to be that technology, people would think that technology takes the agent out of the picture, and Reso was actually built to underpin everything that you do day to day, every day within your business, but to keep you at the forefront, because you are the guys that are building relationship with your vendors, and today's buyers are tomorrow's sellers. So making sure even if a buyer misses out on a property, they still have a great experience because they can still come to you to sell later. So Reso is built with all of that in mind with what you do. So I'll hand over to you. Can you hear us all right?
All right, Ed, can you hear us?
There you are. Yes, I can hear you when you're at the screen a little more. So I'm assuming that I was hearing a little bit about Reso there, Rachel, and how wonderful it is, and then you're going to cut me in and I guess give all of Adelaide, hi Adelaide, all the wonderful things on how I use it. And to be really frank and upfront, like most agents, I probably use about 40% of its capability. And I like to say I use things in my very own way for my business. So Rach, if I can, I'll let everyone in the room know how I sort of use Reso, and then no doubt you'll have a lot of wonderful gaps to fill in thereafter. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Cool. So a couple of things just before I do start. Firstly, I don't actually pay to use Reso every single time it's used in my business. Obviously it's BPA paid, but I'll touch on that in a moment. I mostly use the platform for compliance, documentation, communication, offers negotiation, and of course a really cool listing and prospecting tool. And I just want to touch on each of those lightly before Rachel fills in all the context and all the gaps. So as I said, compliance is one of my main things that I utilise Reso for. And the reason that I use Reso is because there is an action timestamp of when every single thing happens in any campaign that I do. from the point that the sale has started to the acceptance of the seller coming in, every single buyer accepting it, whenever I send out an invitation, every single time someone opens a piece of documentation. So it's hugely telling, without people really telling me whether or not they're interested, what they're reading, what they're looking at, how many times they've gone back to look at that. So again, regardless of what state I'm utilising this product in, whether it be Queensland where I am at the moment or Victoria where I used to be, then it doesn't matter who comes and asks, compliance-wise, I've always got it sitting there. Okay, so that's number one. I can just open that up and hand it over to whoever is asking, provided there's someone like the Office of Fair Trade, of course. Documentation is the other thing, and I do remember a yesteryear where I used to sit there and send out different pieces of documentation for people to either acknowledge, sign and send back. I'm sure you will remember those days as well. Whereas here in Reso, once I start the sale, I can actually upload all my documentation, every single thing that any buyer would need to see, and anything that I would need to have acknowledged. So if there's a disclosure document, for instance, that needs to be acknowledged by the buyer, I can actually stop them from making an offer. They have to acknowledge that piece of documentation. I can choose that, whether that option, I have a yes or no for that, which is a great thing. So I can actually stop and make them acknowledge different pieces of legislation or documentation before they're actually able to make an offer, which for me, it's all in one spot, it's in one link, they get this link as soon as they walk into the property. And for me, the cool thing about this is, it's not just whether or not they're walking into a property, because we don't meet every single person in open for inspection, right? It might be somebody that has sent me an SMS. Bang, I can just invite them to the sale. Somebody might call me on the phone. Obviously, we get a lot of inquiries through email as well. I might have, and here's the big thing, when I go through to using it as a prospecting tool, I might have other buyers from other sales that I can very quickly link any buyer who has missed out on a very similar property into that sale. So I'd like to say that it is impossible for you to be missed if we have spoken, you have emailed or inquired in some way, shape or form. It's almost impossible. So that's one of the cool things about it. In terms of the communication, so with Reso, and this part's free, as I was just saying. So until you actually open offers, it doesn't cost you any money or your clients any money. And then if you choose to proceed and actually rank offers, which is a really cool tool, I'll talk about that in a second, that's the only time you pay for this. So I will often, if I have multiple offers on the property, I may not open offers. I might just deal with that one buyer, okay? And therefore, my clients haven't actually had to pay anything for all the communication, all the documentation, all the compliance stuff. And I will send, what, as a rate up to about 3,000 SMSs that we've got per... 1,000. You correct me. 1,000. I don't even use them. I wouldn't even know. I barely even use my allotted amount. I wouldn't know because I send out bulk communication, everything works, clicks together. I know that every buyer has had an SMS from me. If I am going into a multiple offer situation, again, you guys have already done the templates for me. All I've got to do is make sure the templates are saying the right thing before I hit send. And click which buyers I actually want to send that to, whether it's the active ones, whether I want to re-invite the pending buyers. I might choose to send it to every single buyer. And at that point in time, when I said you've got till this date, this time, to put your offers in, at that point in time, I most certainly had other people that told me they weren't interested and they weren't buying the property come in to the sale and make offers from there. So again, really cool tool in that capacity for me to use. Just for my business and the way that I like to rock and roll things. Again, offers. So this isn't on a call platform, it's an office platform, right? That's essentially its purpose, but it's got so many other wonderful things that go with it. For me, being able to have the offers in one central place, for the seller to actually have an overview, a helicopter view of those offers, it makes it really real for them, and it builds trust and it builds rapport. How many times have we as agents told a buyer there is another offer and they've said, yeah, righto, mate, and not believed us, even though it's probably true, because they've had the opposite. And so this doesn't tell them, it shows people. It shows buyers that somebody's prepared to pay more than them, particularly if I go and start using the ranking component, where I would quite often see differences of $50,000 to $100,000 quite quickly, and that's without me then going in and what I like to refer to as tipping them upside down for coins. That's the way that I like to refer to it with my clients. So in terms of the negotiation stage and process, it makes things crystal clear, super upfront, it builds rapport and trust with both the buyers and the sellers. And again, other people might use other things, but this has been my tool that no one has been able to drag me away from for quite some time. Rachel will tell you, it's probably been about 5 years now. It's been a wee while. And a lot of people have called and said, I've got this shiny new thing. No, unless it has absolutely everything, I'm not even open to a conversation. As I said, I always use this as a listing tool as well. Now, I don't do a huge amount of sales, that is not my full-time role, but if I am in a living room, and I am listing a property, then again, I am showing someone how I'm going to communicate with buyers. I am showing a potential seller how I'm going to negotiate the best price. I am showing a potential seller how no one can be missed, and bringing up some of those stories that we know we've all heard in the industry. Again, it's showing them, it's not just me telling them. If they wish to proceed, here's one of the cool things, is that, let's just say I sold a property at 2 Smith Street, it's 3 bed, 2 bath, double garage, 600 square metres, pretty average house in Australia. I'm about to list another property down the road. Only one person can buy number 2 Smith Street. I had over 80 people inquire and come through that property. Actually, what I could do now for you, Rachel, is I could start the sale and I could invite all of the buyers right now, after we sign the paperwork, into the sale of your property as VIPs. One of them could very well buy it before you can even get to market. And they loved it because everybody says they've got buyers, everybody says they've got databases, right? We've all heard that one before as well. But I showed them, here are the buyers. I can connect them to your property now, if you would like me to. And then I guess in that space as well, I no longer do any vendor reports, ever. And I probably won't ever again, because Reso does them for me. And I couldn't possibly make them look better in a shorter space of time if I tried. Again, I can edit things, I can add things into it, I can download it, I can upload it into my back end of my CRM system if I want to. But this is all in one centralised place. So it's super easy for me to use. And those in the room that know me know that I often say, if I can't use my phone to do it, oh, really? And so again, I'm just using my mobile to do a lot of this stuff. Finally, and lastly, I just want to talk about using it as a prospecting tool. Because I like to dare to be a little bit different. I don't like to be the same as everybody else. And so if I am prospecting and I am talking to somebody, it's more so from this has been created Would you like the same? Are you in real estate mode? Can I provide you any value or information? And people love that because it's not just I sold another house, look at me, I'm amazing, look at my awards. And I'll give you an example of this, which still rings really true to this day, and it was about 7 or 8 years ago now. A really well-known agent I was up against in Melbourne, and I ended up getting the listing. And these were the owner's words. By the end of 3 personal visits, several phone calls, and multitudes of emails, I knew how good this person was, how many awards they had, how many properties they had sold, how wonderful they were, but they still didn't tell me how they were going to sell my house and what they thought it was worth. Okay? So that was a real moment for me to go, well, hold on. Let's just remember who this is really about. So using it as a prospecting tool and being able to take the value that I have created for somebody else and deliver that same value for somebody that is thinking about selling their property or investing in another home, for me that's awesome. And those are all my points, Rach. You probably got a lot more stuff in that space that you use. But essentially, as most real estate agents use probably about 10-20% of their CRM systems, I probably use about 30-40% of Reso.
Thank you, Em. So just to let you know, we actually integrate with most major CRMs, so all your buyer inquiries, and Em touched on this already, people tend to use their technology maybe anywhere from 40 to 60% of its capability. So if you're getting inquiries coming in from your own website, realestate.com, or from wherever they're coming from, you can actually automate a message from your CRM. You can include the link in that message straight from the CRM. So how many people have got an inquiry from a buyer inquiring how much the property is and the price is sitting on the advert? Anybody had that before? All the time. Unfortunately, we get tire kickers and we get our true buyers, and we want to make sure that you can focus your attention and have a hot list of buyers who are really actually interested in the property. So you can invite every single inquiry in. They can look at all the documents. You can actually see the documents they're opening, how many times they've opened them. That changes your conversation. Instead of chasing them, hey, are you going to make an offer? I can see that you've actually opened the form 3 times. Is there any questions I can actually answer for you? So you're meeting your buyers where they're at. You actually might get an inquiry from a potential seller. They've inquired on your property because in the initial searches they've gone online, found a property that they think most replicates what their property looks like, and they're trying to work out what price they might get before they even choose an agent. So they might inquire on your property, never with the intention to make an offer. In Reso, they can actually come in and ask for an appraisal. So they've loved the dialogue they've had with you. They've loved the experience of being invited in. They can see everything. They can see for a buyer how that would work. And they can actually request that appraisal. And we take them through further lead gen questions if they make an offer as well. So you're going to find out if that buyer has an investment property as well. So when your market goes cold and you've got your CRM that we've talked about today's buyers being tomorrow's sellers, we talk often about door knocking and all these different things, and you've actually got a database of buyers who are potentially going to be a seller one day. And isn't that a great place to start? You can use Reso also for off-market listings as well, so you can put it in, not pay anything, as Em said. You can invite all your buyers in, and yet there's a prompt button that they can click when they're ready to make an offer. Stephen, if I've got 2 minutes, can I get Stephen Ben up here? He has been with Reso since even before I started. So we're about 6.5 years old. I started with Reso about 4 months in. And Steve actually used our platform right in the very, very early stages, and I think you'd agree it's come a long way from when you first used it. But,
I agree,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. I've watched it evolve, and I think one of the powerful things about the tool, if I can call it a tool, the platform, is that it's a local product for a start. It's born and bred in South Australia in our market, and they've always been open to improvements.
Awesome. And what would be your favourite feature of Reso?
Well, there's many, but in fact the simplicity is one of them, and the fact that all the offers are online. So 6-7 years ago, that was quite a big deal. Not everyone was doing it then. Did someone say something?
It's the tech guy, sorry.
Probably the ranking feature. I find that the most powerful because we clearly can't, nor should we, be able to tell another purchaser what another offer is. But the power of ranking is they can see, it's transparent. They can see what other offers are. They can see where they're ranked. So if there's 10 offers, they might be ranked number 4, which means they're up in the mix, but they don't know how much they have to beat. So to me, that's been one of the most powerful features. That's personally my favourite feature, and that's the easiest one to sell in the lounge room or at the kitchen table to the potential vendor that's an alternative for auction. If they don't want to auction the property, or if they're not auction minded, the potential vendor, this is a really powerful tool to ensure you get the absolute best price for your vendor.
So just some context around ranking. I'll be with you in one second, sorry, thank you. So the ranking is an optional feature. What ranking does is it opens up some transparency to your buyers. So your buyers actually may have had a terrible experience by an agent down the road. They put an offer in and they never had an opportunity to go back and increase their offer, and they missed out on the property and they loved it. I've actually been a buyer, and I know a lot of real estate agents, and I've been in that scenario many times. So Reso gives everybody a fair and equal opportunity. If you rank offers, if you choose to do so, it'll disclose how many buyers there are, so they don't have to believe you when you're actually able to back up what you're saying with stats and a report to show that what you're saying is true. It really increases that trust factor, so they know they can trust you, and your buyers will dig deeper. I was talking to Chris how buyers will keep their cards close to their chests. They say, I've got $650 to spend or $850 to spend, and lo and behold, you talk to them about their best and final. Anybody had a buyer say, this is my best and final, and you've got them up a bit further? Yeah. Of course you have, because your buyers will always keep their cards close to their chest. So you're actually going to have a history of how much every buyer can actually afford to spend. And we're not letting them know what other offer amounts are, just that there's competition, so they can choose to dig deep if they really want this property. But again, they can actually choose to walk away if the price is going over what they thought they could spend, and instead of being kept on the hook and being jaded by the whole experience, hey, I can see I'm out of this property now, I can actually go offer on another one instead.
Yeah, and the other thing that's important is, what was her name, sorry? Emily. Like Emily said, the consumer may or may not believe you when you tell them that there's a better offer on the table and they have to increase their offer, they're about to lose it, etc. With the ranking feature, they can see it for themselves where they're ranked. And the power of the ranking feature is that it's up to us to determine when it's in the vendor's best interest for us to rank or not rank. So sometimes we put properties on the market and we might rank once a week, we might not rank at all. We may rank 3 times in a day. We may rank 3 times in the last hour just prior to the closing time. So we might be on, say, the 26th of March, at 5 o'clock is the closing date and time, and you may choose to rank 3 times in the last hour. In fact, I think I did it on my last one, where I had 30 offers on it, and I chose to rank 3 times in that last hour. Unfortunately, Rachel was available to guide me through that, and that's another thing I like, is you're always available, Rachel, including Saturdays at 6 o'clock.
Specifically on the ranking, are you ranking purely on price, or are you ranking on, because as we all know, not all offers are equal in terms of conditions and that sort of thing?
Yeah, great question. So if you didn't hear that, are we ranking purely on price? We cannot rank according to conditions, because that would disclose personal information about a buyer. Every time a buyer makes an offer, they receive an email that says your offer will be presented to the seller for their consideration, and the seller reserves the right to accept one or no offers, because it's not just based on price, but conditions as well, and the agent will be in touch with you to discuss your offer further. So you are always in the driving seat, you're always having the conversations around ranking, and you're choosing strategically whether you want to rank again or not. And we had one more question at the back, if that was okay.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, so how does it stop them from putting in like multiple offers? For example, if they can just keep going up 10, 10, 10, 10, for example, to try and sort of like beat the system?
Great question. Okay, so number one, Reso doesn't automatically re-rank. You're choosing strategically if you want to rank once, not at all, a couple of times. You're in control of that based on the sale. There's no set method because every sale is different, right? And you don't know what the end result's going to be and what the competition's like until you actually start seeing those offers come in. So it's at the time that you rank, and a buyer cannot lower their offer in the platform without talking to you first. All right, so we don't want them lowering their offer, then just increasing by $500 to see if they can work out how close they are to another buyer. And a buyer cannot remove themselves from a platform without talking to you as well. They might be ranked 6 and think, heck, I've got no chance, but their conditions could be better than another buyer's. So they have to talk to you first and you remove them from the platform. So you're in control of the whole thing from start to finish.
Can I just mention one more thing, if I may? At the back here, I think, just to fill in with the question a little bit more detail, the agent's responsibility is still to educate the purchasers a lot. And the fact remains that even though they get an SMS or an email saying that just because they're ranked first doesn't mean they'll be buying the property, we still have to tell them that just to make sure they understand.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there a situation where you can upload a blank contract and then the buyers put their personal information in there, and then once they're accepted, it populates the contract automatically and sends it out for immediate
What
sign?
a great question. Okay, so all the
What's to stop it from like just playing bang and just pulling it out?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so first of all, when a buyer the only way a buyer can come in is if you invite them into the sale. They have to verify their email address, so we know that it's only them logging in. So it can't just be a fake offer from a fake buyer. You're vetting the people that are going in. The offers that come in are an expression of interest, and they actually sign or tick our terms or conditions that the next step is to go into contract. And we do have a full integration with Forms Live, and we are working with the Real Estate Institute because they've changed over Forms recently to integrate with them as well. So within the platform, you can pull in a contract template, have all your base template annexures, etc., and you then can merge all the buyer details and go to contract anytime you wish. So you might have the seller report, and you might want to go to contract on your top 3 offers, present that all together to the seller, and we've got a live report or we've got a static report that you can share with your seller. So you're in control of when you go to contract, if that makes sense.
Benny, thanks mate, stepped up to the stage. Guys, we're just running a bit short on time, but what we're going to do at the conclusion of today's event, let's network, right, and get together. We're going to have a few drinks afterwards, so if you've got questions of our supportive partners, whether it be Lulu Live and Susanna or the guys from Reso, Rachel and AJ, feel free to hang back. I don't know if you guys are, sorry if I've just thrown you under the bus, but it looks like you're having a beer and a wine now.
I didn't even give him a wording.
And that's AJ Chan, the CEO of Reso over there. Say hi to AJ, right?
It's mine really.
I'm more than grateful to hear from users instead of hearing from myself. And Rachel's good what she does.
Perfect. Well, like I said, when we conclude, guys, at 4 p.m, feel free to pick these guys' brains with any questions. We're going to take a short 10-minute break, I reckon.